Well, good day, everybody. My name is Ed Kamel from the Vision 2020 project. Thanks for joining us today on the webinar where we're talking about Symposium 7 and the call for presentations. Appreciate you taking the time to join us today. We're going to be hearing from a couple of people, but first I'd like to just go over a little bit of the ground rules before we get started. This is a webinar, so everybody's muted. At the end, we'll be opening it up for questions and answers at the end. You can also use the Q&A feature to put in your questions if you want, and also use the chat feature if you want to ask things in real time during the presentation. But we'll be getting to all that at the end. We're also recording this, so we will make it available later on the Vision 2020 website at www.strategicfire.org, where you can also find a lot of this information that both Steve and Monica are going to be talking about on the site there. If you go to strategicfire.org/S7, you'll find a lot of this information that they're going to be talking about. So we are going to be hearing from Stephen Hrustich, who's the Vision 2020 project manager, and Monica Colby, who's the okay, what did we come up with here, Monica? I blew it already. You are the program selection lead.
It's on.
We keep going around with her title here. She's the program selection lead for the Symposium 7 project. She's also the fire and life safety specialist with the Rapid City Fire Department out in South Dakota. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Steve and Monica.
All right, thank you, Ed. I did put down in the bottom there, peer review team leader. So I guess your title's changing every minute here, Monica, but welcome. And welcome to everyone to the Symposium 7 Call for Presentations webinar. Today, we're going to really talk about how to get your program recognized at really what is the nation's premier CRR event in the Model Performance Symposia that will be held in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Again, we're proud to say we have the dates. The dates will be the week of February 20th in Murfreesboro in 2022. So I know that seems like a long time away at the moment. But we are going to make some changes here to the planning process, and in order to get the highest quality of presentations, that's why the call for presentations kicked off this month. So it is a tough process. Monica will talk about that in depth as we move forward here. But I really wanted to discuss just a couple of things. She put together an updated peer review process that makes it a lot easier for folks to submit and enter their information into a template here, as well as this new and exciting peer coaching team that is truly a standout among the programs out there, conferences and things like that. So our goal here is to make our folks successful. And be that, for your local fire department, but for the symposium planning team as well. Our goal here is to put together a conference or symposium that will leave you inspired and help you bring these things back to your, your community. So with that, what we're going to discuss today is really about what does that peer review process entail. How do you go about those steps to draft your presentation and submit it? How will the presentations be scored? Monica will go through the rubric that the peer review team utilizes to score the presentations. How do I submit our program for consideration? It's a very simple process that she'll detail as we move forward. It's a totally online process to submit that to the peer review team. And then the last is, what if I have questions or need help? Our folks really are standing by here to assist you in helping you draft your presentations, get all those pieces together. So the goal, again, for us is when those presentations come in, we have the highest quality that we work with, and there's less back and forth if you're missing a piece or two. So talking a little bit today about model performance and the methodology. We'll discuss this in greater length. Matter of fact, Monica's going to kick this off, but we'll talk about formative process, impact, and outcome. Folks, these are simple pieces that really should be part of every program you're putting together out there. Just capturing this information. You're doing these things anyways. When you look at, putting your program together, that process and all those steps and then creating forms and everything you do is just part of that process. So there are a number of free tools that Vision 2020 has. We have online courses that you can take through IFSTA Resource 1, as well as our outcome guide, how to, measuring for success. I think those are great starting points for you. But what we're going to do is talk about this in depth, and I'm going to kick it off and give it to Monica here to talk about formative measures.
All right. So formative measures is deciding what you were going to do and how you came about doing that. So doing your data analysis, your risk assessment, and deciding what the problems are in your community, what the risks are, and what you've decided is a priority, what initiative you came up with that you wanted to use to tackle that, what's the audience, how did you know which audience you wanted to work with, what are those demographics, and then you're going to use that to make sure that you are reaching the right people with the right message. So we want to see that you didn't just say, hey, we had a problem yesterday and it hurts my heart and this is what we want to do about it, but rather you did the data analysis and said, this is where we need to go. This is what we need to tackle first. So then from formative, you have the process. Process is how you're monitoring your implementation. You've decided what you're going to do, what audience you're going to reach, how you're going to reach them. But process is managing that and making sure, how are you checking that you're reaching the right audience with the right message? How are you tracking that this is working, this process is happening? So you want to consider some of those things that you're going to have in your impacts, and that this is the time to look at process, or like the number of inspections performed and what type. How many surveys did you do? Did you have a meeting with the stakeholders, or did you need to do something to find the right stakeholders so that you could change what's going on in the community? Number of programs presented, or how many people were trained, how much of your staff, how do they feel about this new initiative that you're using? Impacts are the next one. This is kind of those changes, what changed, not necessarily that long-term risk yet. They may or may not have changed the risk, but these are the little bit of short-term changes. So there was a behavior change, there was a knowledge change, attitude change. You're able to, you adopted policy. The physical environment is changed. I'm looking at my list to make sure I don't miss anything. Did the decision-making process change? What are some of those more immediate things that you're counting? Number of smoke alarms installed. And then the outcomes, this is the long-term picture. This is based on back towards your formative evaluation. So in your formative, you said, here's our problem, here's what we want to accomplish, like we want to make sure that we've reduced the number of incidents that occur, or reduce how many injuries there are, or how bad the injuries are. We want to make our staff be able to do more things. They can do more inspections, or they can get out to more medical calls, or decrease the number of resources that it takes to do the job. So those are all the output, and those are 3, 5, 10-year outcomes. These are the big things that we're looking at the end. Now, we do understand that this is a long-term look. So your program evaluation may not have, your program may not have been in existence for long enough to get 5 years of output measures. You might not have these big outcomes that you're able to say, yes, we got all of this accomplished, and I've been able to see that we've had a reduction in our fatalities. maybe like in South Dakota, surprisingly, we have kind of smaller towns. So sometimes it's hard to show that what you've done has made a difference. You really need 10 years to show that you've accomplished a per capita change. So we understand that, submit anyway. To really get your full points, to score really high on the top, you do need to have that long-term outcomes, but we understand that, and we take that into account when we look at what is a model program.
Very good, Monica. That was a fantastic synopsis. I think, you know, those 4 measurements are really critical to developing model programs. And I think what we want to do now is sort of pivot to, you know, how we're going to utilize those pieces to put your program together and then submit it to our online portal here. So if you look at strategicfire.org website and you go to the Symposium 7 page there, it's basically what you see inside the computer screen here. And there's a menu bar on the side of the page that takes you to really everything that you're going to need to accomplish getting your program together and then submitting it online, as well as requesting coaching help. So in here now, there's an online form for your presentation. You're going to draft that in a template that's provided for you. You don't have to utilize a template, but we certainly encourage you to do so because it helps underscore all the points that that we're looking for. So that's available here, as well as, again, the coaching request form. It really sits, you know, it sits in there. You can fill out that form, and really there's an area to ask, what kind of information do you really specifically need help for. There's a presentation rubric that Monica is going to discuss here shortly, as well as that presentation form that you see now. So they're very simple process through this online portal to get your information together, download the template and move forward in drafting your presentation submission. So we're going to pivot a little bit here and let Monica talk about what does that peer review process entail.
All right, so we've opened up the call for the presentations. When you submit those, they go to a peer review team. They're in a witness protection program. We want to keep them somewhat anonymous, but let me guarantee that these are people who actually do this. These are practitioners. They do community risk reduction. They have had identified and presented a model performance program before. So they know what it takes and they understand. So it's not just some stranger reading this. They know what they're reading. They give it a score from 0 to 16 based on each of the pieces of the evaluation, give some insight into what they think were some of the strengths and weaknesses for this. Anything that we thought maybe this was really good, but we have a concern. In the past, sometimes we found some that we didn't understand how they wrote something or thought there really might be more information there. We like the idea. Depending on the situation and the score, we might reach out and try and get a little bit more information, and then we reevaluate those. We're looking for the top probably about 12, so usually 12 to 15, depending on what space we have and what different topics there are. Generally 5 or 6 rise immediately to the top, and then there's about 20 more that are all about equal in the middle, and it's picking out which of those we're looking for. And a lot of those are, they're all good, but maybe that year we had 4 of them that were all about youth fire setting programs. And so we don't want to just listen to that all day. We need something a little bit different, or perhaps they were all really good, but here's one that we hadn't seen before about opioid addictions. And so we're going to put that one to the top. So we do look to try and make sure that we've got an interesting selection, not just high scoring, but also some variety and some inspiration so that you can be like, oh, we can do that. Or, hey, I saw something there that represents my community and one of our risks, and we can tackle this. So we bring all of those ideas together and give it to that program committee, and they say, yep, here are the ones, and we let everyone know, and we will have that done by July 1st, hopefully before that, but we will let everyone know yes or no by July 1st.
Perfect. Yeah, what you say is truly important. You know, when we look at CRR, if you look back, if you attended Symposium 6, you certainly realize sort of that holistic view that we've sort of taken to move more into that EMS realm. You know, incorporate that, bring those folks into the fold here. So we give everybody a very interesting view. You know, there's CRR is the principles and practices of CRR is just that, folks. We can utilize this for any discipline in the fire service. You can utilize it for obviously for prevention efforts, fire prevention efforts, you know, fire inspections as well. You know, we get a large amount of smoke alarm programs, which I think are important, but that, you know, again, what Monica said, to try not to have, you know, 7 programs on smoke alarm or home safety visits is critically important to having a very diverse view here. So we're
something
excited.
we don't get as much on is not even just the, okay, we're trying to reduce a specific risk, but also more of the internal backstage stuff of your efficiencies. We had one before of how do we get an ambulance back in service faster? They found one of their risks where they were spending a lot of time at the hospital trying to do that transition with their patients. So it can really be a lot of different aspects.
I agree. And again, I think that provides the, you know, the end you know, end users that come to the symposium the ability to look at a very diverse group. So we'll probably be reaching out to, you know, different types of groups, different disciplines to make sure we get those you know, those presentations submitted across the fire inspections platform. Even fire investigations is one we typically don't get a whole lot on, but the operations side of things as well. We look forward to getting much more of those at Symposium 7. So we're going to move on here, and I'm going to ask Monica to talk a little bit. Can you tell me about the rubric that the peer reviewers use to score the presentations?
So like any good evaluation, we wanted to have a very good set way of knowing whether we're evaluating the same and accurately. So that's where the rubric comes in. 4 assessments areas, one for each piece of the evaluation. So formative, process, impact, outcomes. And they're scored from 0 to 4. And it's up to those reviewers, and they each will score separately, and then we'll look at them together. But for example, to read this rubric for the formative evaluation, we're looking for that risk assessment for your audience, your stakeholders, the risk, and what you're planning to do about it, what you think that's going to be, and what are those long-term goals. In 10 years, we'll have reduced this by X amount. So to get 4 points, you need to have all of those pieces there. To get 3 points, it's not just some of that, but we still need that full evaluation needs to be there, but maybe you just didn't tell us how you did your evaluation. And I realize this is tough. We're talking about a couple of short paragraphs to give us what probably took you a year to put together and come up with. A lot of effort went into deciding all of these things, but just give us that brief overview to state that you had done everything, that you had used data to drive your decision making. And then in each of the categories, there is a 0 to 4 score. And we do have this rubric is available on the website. And a video explaining all the pieces and kind of what we're looking for. And the video is what we use to train the peer review team. So you're seeing everything. We're very transparent this year. There is, thank you for putting that on there, Ed. There is a checklist to help you. There is a video. There is the rubric, and even the template has, this is the stuff you should be talking about here. The other piece for that template to be aware of, it's just a Word doc, but we also would like you to already make it anonymous. We don't want you to say Rapid City Fire Department is the best and did this thing. We want you to say my fire department or the fire department or the ambulance service. So we don't have to go through and redact everything, because it's kind of hard to score something when you see these big black blocks through it all. So you won't present that way. We just want it reviewed that way. Let's go to the next one.
Okay. So the program template that your folks developed, can you talk about where that is and how to complete it?
So when you go to the site to look for the symposium, there is the button that says that you've got the template for this. Download it. It's a Word doc. Change it. We like it in this format. It'll be easier for the peer review team to see that you put everything in the right places, and that you easier for them to score it, because they do score it in these chunks. But however you want to do it, this we've had problems in the past where people thought, instead of trying to say this in words, couldn't I just show you a graph? Wouldn't that be faster? Put in a graph. If you want to put in a graph and chart, go for it. We do ask that it's anonymous. Don't talk about your fire department or your ambulance service or whoever your organization is, but you can refer to a technology that you used, or an NFPA standard. You don't have to make it completely vague, but just keep your location out of it. And then, I don't remember what I was going to say about that. It's all good. We've got a video on all of that too. And submit, 3 pages. It's really good if you don't go more than 3 pages. Those that are selected will need to rewrite this into only 2 pages. And we have all of them from the past symposium. All of the ones that were selected as model programs have submitted this, and they're in the past. So if you want to see what we're looking for, there are a lot of them out there.
Yeah, that's a great point. Anything that has been done at previous symposia is on the website. You can look back at all the history. It's a great resource for folks looking to develop a program. They can go there and look to see what folks have done to develop or create these model programs and where they've been successful, and use that to replicate it across their community. I think that's one of the focus that Vision 2020 has, is to help all these different fire departments across the nation really replicate, model performance within their community. So again,
so when you've got it all, go ahead. Sorry.
No, the only thing I wanted to add there, Monica, was Monica did put together some exceptional videos that if you're looking for extra help in how to do this, those videos are out there. And you can just go to the website and play them. Go ahead, Monica.
So when you're all ready to go, and sometime before the end of March, go back to the website. There's a form to fill out. That's just your contact information, so that we know who to contact and who's going to be the presenter. And drag and drop this in, cut and paste, whatever. Just put this into the form as an attachment, and it will go off to our peer review team.
Perfect. Okay, we'll move on here.
Yeah.
Can you talk about this coaching team that you've developed? Again, I think this is just an incredible resource for the fire service to have in order to help these folks develop these model presentations and get to the symposium. So can you expand on our thoughts here?
This coaching team is really exciting. We have 4 coaches who have either created or taught community risk reduction. I mean, it's the amazing Mary Marchone, Pat Mazzala. We have Maria Bastian and Sylvia Rodriguez Peace. Suddenly I was going to get your name wrong, Sylvia, who is amazing. So they take turns in rotation. If you have a question, like I would like someone to look this over and make sure I've got everything in the right places and that I've thought of everything. If you want someone to, like, you have a great program and you've been doing all of this, but you're not sure how to write it, or you're not sure where to find, you think you only have like 2 impacts and you've got to have more than that. So talk with someone who can help draw some of those things out and say, well, did you track this or that? You know, did you look at this? Oh yeah, I can find all those numbers and help you to put all of that together. So sooner rather than later, because it is a first come, first serve, I promised I would not completely overwhelm them. And if we get 10 requests in the end of March, you might not get a coach. So these are ladies who will bend over backwards to help, but we also don't want to burn them out. So they are available starting today. We're already starting to get some coaching requests, and you can ask more than once as long as they're available to help you out.
Yeah, again, when you're looking at, coaching, I think it's important to, ask those questions. If you're uncomfortable about something or you don't know something, ask those questions you really want answers to, but maybe afraid to ask somebody else. These folks have years of experience, and as well as the empathy to understand what you're going through. And I think that's critical to getting the best. Our goal is to make these presenters, give them the tools, everything they need to be successful on that stage. So even when that process is finished, if you get to the end and say, you know what, we were selected, but I'm just not comfortable speaking in front of a group. Let's talk about that now rather than in end of January, just prior to the symposium. We can help you work on that and get you the assistance and things you need. There's also information again on IVSTA Resource 1 that really talks about presenting and giving, that course is available for free for everyone. So don't be afraid to use the resources that are given to you.
And those that have presented before know we get picky after that. So our coaches do go through this again. A team from NFPA is going to be going through. We want it to look good. We want it to be, we look at the readability, make sure we're picking out some good colors so that your graph isn't too busy or things like that. So we do help you with all of those kinds of things. And yes, thank you. This is only a maximum of 20 minutes of a presentation. We're talking about 2 pages to explain your whole program and 20 minutes or less to tell your whole story. So this is just an overview. Hit all of the salient points to show us that you have a thorough evaluated program, but it is a very quick and short event. It's more of a TED Talk.
That's absolutely true. Okay. So that really got to the end of the information we want to provide. Always, every time I give my thanks to AFG for their funding support for Vision 2020. One thing that AFG has provided funding support for the 6 previous symposia, from those early days back in 2010 all the way up through the last one there in Murfreesboro in 2020. So we'd like to thank them for everything that they've done for Vision 2020. We also want to talk and provide everyone that much of the information that you see here is all available on the website, the videos, the information as well on for templates for your submission process, the form and the help form for you to get additional help, all available at no charge. One thing that I just wanted to add here, that the presenters, we obviously pick up the cost for travel and lodging for the presenters, and that is covered by Vision 2020. So it's an exciting thing. We're really truly excited about Symposium 7. Our goal here is to get 400 people to that event. Our last one in 2020, we had the largest, and that was 350 registered participants. So we're excited about that. So let's move on to Q&A.
We do have a couple of questions here. One that, for you, Monica, because I know this has come up before. Somebody asked, if you've been a previous presenter, can we submit again for in-depth updates to our program?
Sure. If there's significantly new information, something to learn from it, especially if it was like only a 3-year evaluation, or some that were selected before that really hadn't been in existence for very long, and now you've got 5-10 years, that'd be excellent. Submit again. And there's a lot of people that had submitted before and not selected. It was either probably really young, so it didn't get as many points, or it just hit that middle ground. Maybe there was someone else with the same topic that scored better. Please submit again. There's a very good chance that now you'd be able to rise to the top because you have something that has some good evaluation behind it now.
I mean, and we've talked about this before, that the reason you weren't selected wasn't necessarily because you had a bad program.
Right.
We can only take so many, right?
That's right. I think there have been very, very few over the past 10 years that there's no way we'll ever share that information. That's really small. That's not why people don't make it. It's either in that writing couldn't explain it very well, couldn't show that they had an evaluation. They just explained, I have a program, or I have an idea for a program, rather than showing us they were evaluating. Different than other conferences. We're not looking for a presentation on what you do. This is a symposium, we're looking for you to have a paper on how you've evaluated your program and show that your program is working. So those are some of the reasons why people weren't selected, but the majority are just because we only can do about a dozen of them. So it's just looking for those really top end variety.
And you bring up another point too, and I was going to throw this to Steve. That's the thing too, is we're looking for variety. We can't have all one of the same. We want to show how holistic it is, right?
That's absolutely true. Last time we saw some exceptional programs from more or less the EMS realm, and I think there's a lot there. We would hope that we would get I know there's incredible programs out there in the inspections realm. We hope we get folks to submit some of those. Obviously there's large gains that can be made from just increasing the volume of your inspections through your process and what you've done and why that's important, and finding that out through that risk assessment. So the same goes for operations. I think that is one level that we have yet to really open up and expand on. I think that's the thing I'm looking forward to the most is finding those operations level CRR programs that are really helping drive community risk reduction in these fire departments across the nation. So that holistic approach is true, and it just comes down to sort of luck of the draw. I think when we look at do we have too many programs that sort of fit in this one bucket? There will obviously be a program on wildfire prevention or mitigation. Those with the volume of wildfires, we need to do justice to that part of the fire service. And while that may not be a East Coast thing, it's incredibly important to the folks I talk to every day from these CEF states that are in the in the West or Midwest Western states. So there will certainly be a program there, and a program or two depending on the volume and what we get.
Another question that came up as part of the presentation: is it appropriate to just list the outcomes that will be measured, even though they are long-term?
So sharing with us, you certainly can tell us what you're hoping to see. It won't score as high unless you actually have what you've been able to prove as actually happened. Sometimes that's difficult, like for a wildland. Sometimes you don't have really good outcomes until you've had a fire and can see what occurred. So certainly can still submit and put that in, but you won't get those 4 points, the full points.
So again, looking back at that, making sure that you're measuring that impact is critical to sort of your success in moving that forward. So if you get all the points you can in impact, there's obviously going to be folks that just don't have the longevity of the program to get 4 points in outcome measures. But that doesn't mean if you just blow it out of the water in formative process and impact, you're standing tall in that group. I can assure you that. So one thing we want to be sure people aren't shying away from submitting just because they don't have that longevity in the program development. So this is probably something, this question I would bring to the coaches and say, hey, listen, okay, here's where we're at. This is what we want to measure, and work towards that, if you have those in place to measure those effects, you'll probably end up scoring better on the outcome side. At least you'll have those pieces that to get you 2 points, maybe not getting 4, but you're getting 2. And if like you said, if you really bring the thunder on the rest of the submission and get the points, 14 points is a great score, folks. That is typically someone that is probably right at the top of the list. Wouldn't you say, Monica?
I agree. And like you said, if you show this is how we're going to measure, again, reiterating this is our goal of what we want to have and how we're going to know if we're reaching that, how we know where we stand so far or beforehand, comparisons, all of that helps.
And some of these programs too, Monica, might fall into that new program we're starting this year, the minnow tank.
We've been wanting to do this for so long. I'm so excited. So what we want to do is in those little bit right after hours, some people who have some great ideas but would like some feedback from a panel and maybe even from the other attendees of what they need to do or how can they measure this. I've got this good idea, but I have no idea how I could ever prove that it's working. We want to spotlight some of those and have a discussion, use them as a case study.
Yeah, so some of the programs that aren't quite ready for prime time yet may be selected for the working title we have right now is the minnow tank. It's kind of built on the shark tank, but it's nicer than that. And where people can do, like Monica said, a presentation and get feedback on it. So like I said, it's not quite prime time yet, but could still have a chance to be there at the Vision 2020 symposium. Okay, somebody just popped in. Will there be feedback for programs that are not selected so they can improve?
Yes, we will provide feedback. We won't necessarily give you all the criticism that ever came just automatically, but if you want to know more about how you scored and why, those are things that we're going to work with the peer review team. We want them to be extremely honest with the committee about what they felt about everything. And then from there, we'll decide what to share. I expect we'll share everything with you if you want to see it. But we do want to make sure that committee, even though we're keeping them somewhat anonymous, that they do feel like they can tell us exactly what they think, not worry about your feelings. Some of them are, kind of those nice pleaser people that would feel bad.
Right.
Again, with this, I think it's critical. When I look at this question, it pushes me back to, if you are doing that, have a coach just review your presentation before you submit it. That way you don't sort of fall into that group where, okay, you scored threes, 3 threes and a 2 for a total of 11 points when maybe you could have squeaked 12 out. That single point is incredibly, I think, important here and there. So utilize that coaching team to help you submit the best presentation you absolutely can. That's what it's there for.
And before we close out with any final comments, one thing I do want to remind people is everything that Monica and Steve have talked about is available on the website at strategicfire.org/S7. The rubric is up there. The videos Monica's put together. We have a CRR radio podcast with Monica where she's explaining all this as well. Everything is there. Everything that you need to know is there on the website. Plus, you can download the template that you need to fill this out offline, and then the forms are there when you're ready to submit it. If you do want to get on our contact list, you see a couple of ways on the screen here. If you text strategic fire if you text strategic fire to 22828, that automatically puts you into our contact list. You can also get on it through the website as well. And we do encourage you to follow us on Facebook and Twitter at strategicfire.org. And with that, any last comments, Monica and Steve, before we wrap it up?
Go ahead, Monica.
Take the time to find your program and write this up. I know we're supposed to be doing it anyway, but I found this to be one of those deadlines that helped me to improve my process and my programs to make sure that I am actually doing community risk reduction evaluation. So take this opportunity, and I'm so excited that we've given everyone so much time so far in advance this year. So it's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I want to sort of reiterate that, the timing of this, like it does seem that it's far away, the symposium is far away, but this will get us I tell us folk to the planning committee all the time, we're looking to provide that Disney moment for people that come to the symposium to walk away and say, wow, that was the best conference I've ever attended. That's our goal. And that's what we're looking to do from from the side of performance measurement. That is just CRR at its finest. We are trying to help lend credibility to the fire service in the efforts that we're doing to help protect the community. When we do this, it is going to pay dividends to everyone. When this is finally accepted by all disciplines, when they come to work one day and say, hey, you know what, we should change this, or we should do this. We're going to follow this process to get that done. And the reason we always do that is because we know the outcome when we get to the end. That is what the model performance evaluation measures are all about. And if something doesn't work in that process, we go back and change it, right? It's cyclical. So I think it's truly important. The symposium really highlights the efforts here of what good looks like. And we are truly fortunate to have everybody join us today. And we look forward to having you join us at Symposium 7 with your presentation.
Okay. Well, thank you, Monica. Thank you, Steve. Again, strategicfire.org/S7. Symposium 7 will be happening in February 2022 in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And we look forward to seeing you all there.